Yes.
Absolutely.
And so you have the meetup group, you have the social media, you have the website. What other outreach efforts are going on?
Flyers.
Yeah, we're kind of
flyers work.
I
Flyers
guess
work.
you can say.
I mean, sometimes
Yeah.
like at those American Legions and those VFWs, the way to reach that population is paper. Until you can get an email address, and then later you can address them via email. So paper's the way. The other way is a lot of collaboration. We don't really do anything alone. So the healthcare forum is a collaboration with VA healthcare system, and then in April we're doing a ribbon flower workshop at the American Legion in La Mesa. So that's all collaboration efforts, and we're working with Horses and Hooves Therapy, which is a ranch that has many horses, and they do therapy for
equine
people.
therapy, I believe.
Yeah, and so we're going to do a walk with them, and they're going to do brunch. And so a lot of the stuff we're doing is really about, like I said earlier, it's a variety of things, but it's also an effort to be collaborative and to bring in resources that women veterans wouldn't normally go to on their own. A lot like a meetup, I don't want to go to the thing by myself, right? And so the idea with this is, how many things can I introduce that women want that are coming back for? And the number one thing that women veterans ask for in our county is to meet other women veterans. And so the best way to do that is to provide an opportunity for belonging and bonding. And I can't think of a better way to do that than a walk or a mini horse or a vision boarding workshop. Like, it's really been fun and rewarding and successful in a way it's surprised me, frankly.
I think we spoke about this briefly before we started recording here today, because all veterans, regardless of what branch you're in or who you are, race, gender, creed, you lose your tribe when you get out, right? And I feel like it happens to women at a higher rate, because
so much more.
Yeah, women move on, right?
Yeah.
They move on. They move on with their
on
lives.
our plates, family, children, marriage, divorce. A lot of women do go back to their hometowns, and
they don't identify. I think the number one thing that I would like to say, if I'm speaking to lady veterans out there, I'd say, can you please own your shit, right? Like, you served, and it doesn't matter if you were in combat or in a war zone, you served, and that makes you a veteran. And so many women don't think they're veterans because they didn't see, we'll go with action, right? If they didn't fire their weapon, so they don't think they're a veteran. And so that's a misnomer. And as a result, they give up so much of themselves and their identity and their resources, right? When you don't identify as a veteran, then you don't chase veteran resources. So that's one of the biggest problems I see. And then the second part of that is, if a woman marries a man in the military, when they get out, he's the veteran.
I was just going to, you know what? I've seen that so many times. So true. And I think that it's, if that happens to you, I can only imagine feeling really defeated and under-recognized for everything. Like, everything. People just forget about you. Like, I know, because I have a friend who I would say, like, it happens to, and it's hard. Like, it makes me sad because she did everything that I did,
and she becomes the caregiver and gets kind of really pushed back to this 1950s, like, Pearl's barefoot kitchen role, and misses out on the opportunity for her to, like, heal her own world and get the resources that she needs to be okay and to move forward. But also, she misses out on that recognition, right? Like, we all spend several years learning how to be a specific thing, and then suddenly giving that up for someone else leads to basically a giant hole in our spirit. And there are so many women that are out there that give that up because they think they're supposed to, or they think they have to, or they think it doesn't fit within society's understanding of what feminine looks like or what a mom looks like. And so one of the things that we do that I think is really important for the San Diego Women Veterans Network is provide that space of belonging where women veterans can be themselves, where they can say, fuck, yes, fuck, where they can talk about what it was like to be, in the military as a woman, to talk about what it was like to aspire to be a man, right? Like, the default setting is white male in the military, no matter which branch you're in, and everybody's aspiring to be a white male in the military because that's what is cherished and prized, and women are no different. The problem is women never have the capacity to meet that goal, and then we get out and we still think we're supposed to be that. And society does not know how to accommodate that type of behavior in a female, right? So we are assertive. We ask for what we want. We say yes and no. We can be abrupt, right? We can be like demanding. And what they're used to is milk and cookies and people planning birthday parties. And we're not meeting that feminine standard. And so there's a lot of gender problem that happens for us when we get out because we're not, I don't know what the word is, like we're not unmale-fied.
I always say I fit in everywhere and nowhere at the same time.
Yes.
Because even when you do the reverse, and I had problems with this because I am a little feminine, and as soon as you switch that into the feminine role, all the work that you did as a veteran and in your military role is forgotten. It's canceled out. Yeah.
You no longer have autonomy. You don't get to speak for yourself.
Yeah, because you're wearing heels.
No. Yeah, you're wearing a skirt and heels, so you don't have the right to say no. And that it's a struggle that that I see a lot of women trying to figure out the balance. And something that I'm really grateful for is the Me Too movement. Not just because it's raising awareness around sexual assault, but it's also raising awareness about the ridiculous stereotypes we have around men and women. Like, it's been really unhealthy for men as much as it's been really unhealthy for women. You know, men are not allowed to talk about what's happening to them with other men. Like Mike and Max, do you guys talk about your problems to each other? No, right? Like you can spend 10 years together, but you're not allowed to be vulnerable or transparent the way that I am with Colleen. And I think that that's hurtful to us as a society. And I think it's hurtful to Colleen and I that we're not allowed to say, no, I'm not going to plan the holiday party without having backlash. You know, so like, I think it goes both ways. And what I'd really like to see is much more like what our younger children are doing is this kind of non-binary identification where they're going, you know what, gender is for the birds. It didn't work for you guys. I'm not going to adopt it. Yeah. And I'm really witnessing these young 10-year-olds, 12-year-olds, 14-year-olds be like, I'm going to grow my hair long and wear a bra even though I have a penis, you know, because I want to.
I'm just going to try something new.
Right. And I love that they're daring, and I love that they're risking, and I love that they're crying in public. And I love that the girls are saying, I want to study science. And I like that these stereotypes are being broken down in this younger set, because I think people of our age have been hurt by it.
So we're talking about we want to see the Starship Troopers military.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know, it's crazy because I kind of grew up in a house like that. You know, my dad was also a Marine, and we grew up in Michigan, kind of on a farm. And I don't ever remember gender ever coming into play for me. You know, my dad would always, you know, if I said I wanted to do something, he'd be like, okay, show me. It was never, girls can't do that, or nothing was ever restricted to me because of my gender. And, you know, the first time it ever was when I said I wanted to join the service. And of course, you know, my dad's like, oh, that's great. We go to the Marine recruiter station first, of course, you know, and I never made it to any of the other branches.
How did they get you?
You know, I always knew I wanted to join the service. It was something I wanted to do since I was a kid. I always ran around and played soldier games, and I didn't know the difference between soldier and Marine, but I was like, oh, I'm going to be a soldier. Okay. I'm going to be a soldier.
I forgive you.
And so college, I was actually supposed to have a track scholarship. And it was coming up time for me to pick a college, and I didn't pick a college, and all these recruiters were like, you need to pick a college. And so the counselor called me into her office one day and was like, you need to make a decision. And I straight said, you know, I don't want to go to college. I want to join the military. And everyone was like, what do we do with this? They called my parents.
And we're like, her pearls.
Do you know what she said? And my dad, of course, was like, cool. He's like, I was in Vietnam. That sounds good. He's like, I'll take you to a recruiter office. We can learn more.
Very cool.
So
very cool of him.
Straight to the Marine Corps office.
Makes you like Dad a lot, right?
Passed the Navy. Yeah. He's like, yeah, we're just going to stop. I know where we're going.
If you're going to do it, you're going to do it this way.
Yeah, he was like, that was what he said. He was like, if you're going to go hard, you're going to go. Yeah, if you're going to go, you're going to go hard. Yeah. And I was like, okay. And I think my dad always knew that I had that inside me. And, you know, when I walked into the recruiter office and I'm sitting down and I'm talking to him, and he's like, what do you think you want to do? And I said, I want to be infantry. I was like, I want to be infantry, put a gun in my hand. You know, I could run faster. I could shoot better than all these guys. And he laughed at me. He started laughing hysterically. And I remember the look on my dad's face, because this was when it was very, I could tell my dad's tension here, because he was kind of like, how do I respond to this? And how
do I break the news?
Yes. How do I break the news? And I was like, I don't understand. And they were like, no, women can't go in certain jobs. And I was like,
and
why?
Yet we make better snipers.
Yeah. And expert. Every rifle range expert.
Every research done on male and female snipers, women are more effective and more efficient.
And that's what I learned when I became a weapons instructor later on. Women were so much easier to teach because they didn't come in with those precognizant ideas as to how they should shoot, and I didn't have to retrain them.
And we don't hesitate.
Yeah, but yeah, so I that was kind of a new moment for me that I had an experience. And my dad was, you know, he was like, how do I explain this? And then, and so I still signed up, and I was like, give me the job that's going to get me closest to combat. And he was like, radio operator, I'll get you there. And sure enough, it did.
Damn it, signal.
Yeah, he was like,
comms people.
Comms on the ground. You should join comm or motor T. He gave me his options, and I was like,
good call. Good call on comms.
Comm sounds good. Yeah. So happy I went with comm.
I regret it. But Army signal is much different.
Yeah.
Is that what you did in the Army?
Yeah.
So why the Army for you?
I didn't even know that.
College fund.
Oh, really?
Yeah. At the time, it was the only branch that was offering the college fund. Oh. And also, the Marine Corps literally had 2 jobs for females. Yeah. Like, there were 2 options in the military.
Like supply or admin.
For Marines. And so Army had a lot of choices. Air Force had a lot of choices as well. But the Army had the what was called the Army College Fund. So, and that was why I was joining. Unlike Colleen, I was not all hooah. I was not that. I wanted to go to school. And so the Army really, they got me with the money.
Mike, why the Navy? I don't know if we've ever talked about
Mike.
this.
How are you?
It's actually kind of a long story, but basically came down to I actually wanted to be a SEAL when I first came in, and that was a long story why I wanted to become a SEAL, but that's basically what it came down to. And I just crazy crossed out everything else, and I was like, I'm gonna go Navy.
Nice. Okay. For me, it was I had a buddy, and I had been thinking about joining the service, and I was enrolled in college. I wouldn't say attending because I was more absent. I was more skipping college at this phase of my life, and I had gone down to the office and I was going to go talk to the Marines, but they weren't there. Oh. They were probably like working out or something.
Drinking at the bar.
Drinking or working
and,
working out and
or
drinking.
Both at the same time.
And the Navy guy leans his head out the door and he's like, "Can I help you?" And I'm like, "I'm here to talk to the Marines." He goes, "You can wait in our office until the Marines come back."
He knew exactly what he
yeah,
was
yeah. And he's telling me about all the programs for the Navy. That's how they got me. So that's they suckered me in.
Right that's a nice
he had a
technique.
photo. Yeah. He had a photo album of him out to sea and all this stuff, and I was like, "That looks cool."
I bet that happens a lot to him. He's like, "Oh man, this recruiter is always out of the office."
Yeah.
Swoop.
Yep.
It's like I'm mapping out the schedule for the Marines next door.
Yep. So everything that we were talking about as far as tribe goes for female veterans, if I had to guess, and I'm trying to lead into something at the SD Women Vets networking events. You guys host these events, and you said you do arts and crafts and these other things. But really, they're about the tribe, right? They're about reconnecting.
Yes.
And you were talking about getting women who are on TRICARE back over to the VA and helping them. You were telling me earlier about homelessness and helping people with job searches and getting them back into.
Getting them connected to services that they need or want.
Thank you for finding those words for me.
Yeah. So, I really tried to stay away from the arts and crafts, and I really resisted the ribbon flower class, if I'm going to be honest about it, because I didn't see a deeper meaning. I'm all about, if you want to do drumming circle, I'm in because there's therapeutic purpose and there's science behind that. And so I really was like, let's do art that has value. Like when we did vision boarding, there's real purpose and intention behind it.
Definitely.
So really for me, I'm like, I will do anything that I think will build that bonding and will build that belonging for women veterans in a really strong source. And here's why. because I need them to trust when they need something that they can ask me. They can come to me and say, Billy Kay, you know what? I'm looking for a job. And I go, hey, let me hook you up with my contact at this program. Or, hey, it's Christmas time and I don't know how I'm going to feed my babies. Right? Hey, here's the, got choked up. Here's the, here's the food distribution. Here's the programs that help support and adopt families during Christmas and Thanksgiving. Here's who does meals. Here's who does gifts. Here's who, you know what I mean? And so
your car needs repair.
When your car needs repair, and so if they don't trust that they can ask me without judgment, right, then they will not get the resource that they need. And so the Women Veterans Network is almost like a cover in a way. Like if you're listening, I hope you understand that this isn't a trick, but really what it is an avenue. It's a door or a window, if you were. Like what we appreciate the most about a window is the space it doesn't occupy, right? And so like what I'm trying to do is not occupy a space so that you can find your way to what you need. And so the Women Veterans Network is all of these women veterans, but it's also a whole other arm of service providers and partners. And we have, almost 200 partners, and those people provide warm water therapy. They provide somnonic resonance. They are food banks. They do clothing. They do workshops, partner, like everything you could possibly need. And the truth is like when you go out and have a beer with me, you're just having a beer with me. But eventually when something happens, you'll be like, you know what, who would know? Billy Kay would know. And that's how we work.
And it comes up. Yeah. I think you had asked how we should get our voice out and get our word out about the meetup. Yeah. And, I had mentioned backdoor, using all the backdoor resources, but honestly, that's one of our strongest avenues because we do have to realize that we're catering to such a large demographic. And so even though there are those veterans who are 26, 27, newly transitioned, there's also the 60, 70-year-old women veterans who are longing for that connection as well. And, we get questions like that all the time, I
don't need anything, but I need a friend.
Yeah, I need a friend. Hey, I had a rough week. Can someone go to coffee with me or go to dinner? Something weird happened to me. I don't really know how to process it. Can we talk? Or
I'm looking at colleges.
Yeah, I'm looking at colleges and what kind of resources you can give me for food or I just lost my job and we'll go to work and sometimes it's just an email or a text message. We have group text messages going right now actually where someone's like, hey, I got a female vet, she just got let go, she has admin experience, here's her resume, and they'll like send us a little Dropbox of the resume, what can we do, and we'll just start plugging away. And I even use the network myself. Around Christmas time my car broke down and it was just terrible timing because I had actually just paid the car off.
I think they design it that way.
They do.
Yeah, I was empty in funds and I didn't really know where to go. And I asked Billy Kay and she was like, this place can help you. This place can help you. This place can help you. And it was great.
Yeah. So one of the things that we did as a network is we got hooked into SD United, which is United is a nationwide database programming where you share resources. And so San Diego United is shared with the local veteran service providers. And that means if Colleen comes to me and says, I need help with my car and I don't have an immediate resource, I can put her in that database. And then the other resources can grab her out like a bucket. They go, oh, here's somebody I can help out of this bucket. And so if we can't do a warm handoff, we have an opportunity to use SD United to still provide women with resources that they need.
Yeah.
But one other thing I want to say about this, and then we'll move on, is we also do collective impact in a really poignant way. So bringing all of these service providers together gives them an opportunity to network with one another, which lets them be more effective and more efficient. But it also lets them have a voice, and I get to say, hey, what do your clients need? Which are really my women veterans, right? What are they saying to you that they're asking for? And that's how the health forum came up. So 2 years ago, when I first asked this question to the service providers, they were like, all of these healthcare things are happening all around. The women don't know what the options are. The right hand and left hand are not talking to each other. I really would like to have an education event where we could teach the women veterans how to advocate for themselves and what their options are. So we had our first Women Veterans Health Forum in February 2018. which was a smashing success. And that came out of that collective impact. And so all of those service providers helped support that event and make that event happen. So this year it's transformed a little bit into this training workshop with the VA healthcare system and the DoD, where we're training women how to sign up for healthcare services. So it's the same vein, right? Like the service providers are saying these women need help with their healthcare stuff. And so we're like, hey, well, we're uniquely poised to where we don't have skin in the game, but we care about what happens to these women. So I can bring in these resources and I can bring these women together and I can say, hey, we want you to learn how to advocate for yourself and we want you to know what your choices and your options are. So the collective impact behind that is really powerful. And so that's one of the ways that we amplify our voice, and collectively with all of our service providers, we have over, a 10,000 to 15,000 person reach.